name is Gareth Owen. I'm the Humanitarian Director for Save the Children UK, based in London. I think the experiences that have taught me most about partnering are probably being a member of a large global family. Save the Children is a 100-year-old humanitarian organisation that has 30 members spread out throughout the world. It has an international delivery arm. And so we are, in effect, a large conglomerate NGO, Northern NGO, and we're similar to other big global conglomerate businesses in that regard. So there's a lot of partnering that goes on inside what looks on the outside like a homogeneous entity, but actually is a very complex adaptive system on its own, connected, networked to other complex adaptive systems globally. So I've learned a lot in my 20 years at Save the Children around partnering within. And latterly, in the last 10 years, we've also fostered and incubated a range of quite large, for civil society, humanitarian agencies, that is, collaborations. Three come to mind. There is the Humanitarian Leadership Academy, there is ELRA, and there is the START Network. And I think the START Network is probably the most interesting one as a collaboration, which we brought together over a decade ago now, as a kind of deliberate teaming approach for civil society actors to face into government and to say that we can collaborate very effectively and suspend our sort of competitive side in furtherance of the interests that are common to all of us. And so that's been a very major learning curve over a long period. I'm very, very proud of the efforts that we all made when we established that. I think the main lesson I've learned about partnering is you have to enter a partnership with an open heart. You have to be authentic, and you have to really leave your agency agenda at the door. If you're going to create a true partnership, it has to be based on trust, and it has to be based on the right notion of equality across the partners, and a huge amount of compromise and a willingness to experiment, and not to walk into the room and say, well, we're just going to bend everybody else to our will because we're big and powerful, which often happens. All that does is create friction and tension. And in the example of the START Network, there was plenty of that in the early days, where bigger agencies were throwing their weight about, and bigger in financial terms, that is, and smaller agencies with a lot to say were crowded out. And I think that's the sort of thing that can lead to collaborations and partnerships failing quite quickly. The other thing that's really important is they are messy, they are political, and many of them fail because we don't persist with the ambiguities in establishing partnerships for long enough. So to get it right can be a journey of explorations over several years with a high degree of uncertainty attached to it. And a lot of people struggle with that in the sort of late modernity, hyper-managerialized, short-termism, KPI'd, objectivized way of working, where everybody's under pressure to deliver fast results. Big, messy collaborations don't do that. They're organic, they take time, and you have to really hold your nerve and stay the course if you're going to create an outcome. If there's a win-win along the way for everybody in terms of helping, we all live in the real world of agencies and business and all the rest of it. So find the win-wins in all that, whether it's a political win to show leadership on the global stage, whether it's a win for a business in terms of developing a green economy, whether it's a win for the military in showcasing just how much expertise we have in the world in the name of peace, actually, which most soldiers I know really prefer to war fighting, and whether it's in in academia to bring to the great knowledge and critical reflection that all needs, and whether it's in civil society organizations to have the humility to say, we are a small cog in all this. We may have a strong ethical core and a strong supporter base, but we're only a small cog and we need to create a big wheel for this. The first thing we always need is the sort of internal political will in our own institutions to allow us to have a go. I've broken many partnerships where I've had to ask the very, very legitimate question at a board level, what's in it for us? And in a way, it's a sort of dragon's den answer. Well, you can keep going alone, or we can have a smaller piece of a much larger outcome that we can be proud of. And we can use our own rich heritage and history to foster global goods in the world. The problem with civil society, humanitarian organizations and charities in general is we don't like failing. We don't really have much history of being open about failure because we see it as wasting valuable money given to us by people who really care. So we're risk adverse when it comes to failure in a way that business isn't. Business understands the R&D process better than I think the civil society charities do, and have the resource to lend to that. So you need political will, you need resource, you need time, you need space, and you need a lot of faith and trust that actually you've got the right brokers, the right external supporters, the coaches and the expert agencies who know how to foster partnerships in place, and that not everything you try will work, but you're willing to fail, because if you try hard enough, you're going to fail eventually, and you're willing then to try again. So that persistence and that sort of institutional will to succeed and to give away a lot of power in the process is vital, or I think you shouldn't embark on partnership. You won't have got the space you need to really try. Be intentionally hopeful for your partnership at all times. If you're leading a partnership, be stubbornly optimistic that it's going to succeed. Bring that to the table. Don't give in to despair. It's just not an option for humanitarians to ever give in to despair. Though we are surrounded by misery, that is the medium through which we're operating. We are stubbornly hopeful for humanity and stubbornly hopeful individuals. So when you lead a partnership, be at peace with the idea that it may not work, because it takes many failures to bring about great success. But be stubbornly hopeful for long enough. Don't fall at the first fence. Have a few goes, and then decide it's time to try something else. But that optimism and that stubborn intentional hopefulness, I think, is key.